Jewish opposition to Christ and the truth of his crucifixion, a historical and theological study. Introduction. Since the dawn of Christianity, the relationship between the followers of Jesus Christ and the Jewish religious authorities has been marked by deep tension, culminating in the crucifixion, an event that became a turning point in religious and political history. This tension was not merely doctrinal, but evolved into an existential conflict that shaped Christian theology and influenced perceptions of Jews in Christian societies for centuries. Part 1. Jewish opposition to Christ. 1. Religious and social context. Jesus lived in a Jewish society under Roman occupation and was committed to Mosaic law. His message was not a departure from Judaism, but an attempt to reform it from within. He clashed with Jewish religious leaders who saw his teachings as a threat to their authority. 2. The Pharisees and Scribes. The Pharisees were among the most influential Jewish sects during Jesus' time. They rejected his teachings on mercy and forgiveness, clinging to a rigid interpretation of the law. They accused him of blasphemy for claiming to be the Son of God, which they saw as a violation of monotheism. 3. Incitement against Jesus. According to the Gospels, the chief priests and scribes conspired to arrest Jesus. They stirred the crowd to demand his crucifixion instead of his release, even though Pontius Pilate found no fault in him. In the Gospel of John, it is written that the Jews sought to kill him because he made himself equal with God. 4. Hostility after the crucifixion. After Christ's resurrection, the apostles began spreading his teachings and faced fierce resistance from Jewish authorities. Early Christians were persecuted by Jews, such as Stephen, who was stoned to death. This hostility reinforced the image of Jews as rejectors of divine salvation. 5. Christian theology and anti-Judaism. Jews were labeled God-killers, a grave theological accusation. Some theologians interpreted the Jewish diaspora as divine punishment for rejecting Christ. In Christian art, Jews were portrayed as symbols of betrayal and spiritual blindness. 6. Historical manifestations of hostility. In the Middle Ages, the blood libel myth spread, accusing Jews of killing Christian children for ritual purposes. Jews were expelled from several European countries and forced to live in ghettos. During the Reformation, Martin Luther wrote harsh texts against Jews, calling for the burning of their synagogues. 7. Modern transformations. After the Holocaust, churches began re-evaluating their stance toward Jews. The Vatican issued the Nostra Aetate document, denying collective Jewish responsibility for Christ's death. Initiatives for Jewish-Christian dialogue emerged, aiming to build respectful relationships. Part 2. The truth of Jewish involvement in Christ's death. Gospel accounts. According to the Gospels, Jewish religious authorities led the religious trial of Jesus. In Matthew 27:25, some Jews said, "His blood be on us and on our children." In John's Gospel, it is stated that the Jews sought to kill him because he made himself equal with God. 2. Role of Pontius Pilate. Roman governor. Pontius Pilate found no guilt in Jesus. He attempted to release him, but the Jews insisted on crucifixion, saying, "We have no king but Caesar." Pilate eventually gave in to public pressure and washed his hands, saying, "I am innocent of this man's blood." 3. Shared responsibility. Historically, the Roman authority carried out the crucifixion. Morally, Christian tradition holds Jewish religious leaders responsible for inciting the decision. This does not mean all Jews were responsible, but that certain religious figures played a key role. 4. Theological interpretation. Christianity views Christ's death as part of a divine plan for redemption. It was not merely a human conspiracy, but a fulfillment of Old Testament prophecies. Thus, focusing solely on who killed Christ misses the deeper spiritual meaning of the event. 5. The Church's modern position. In the 20th century, the Catholic Church denied the collective Jewish responsibility for the crucifixion. It affirmed that Christ died for the sins of all humanity, not because of a specific people. This stance helped reduce historical hostility and open the door to dialogue. 6. Acknowledging truth without generalization. It is true that some Jews in Jesus' time participated in inciting his crucifixion. But it is unjust to generalize this to all Jews, past or present. Generalization leads to hatred and contradicts Christianity's spirit of love and forgiveness. Conclusion: Jewish opposition to Christ, as recorded in Christian texts, has fueled centuries of conflict and suffering. But historical and theological truth requires distinguishing between individual and collective responsibility and between historical events and spiritual meaning. Christ came to save the world and died for all, including those who rejected him. Understanding this balance is essential for building a future of tolerance and mutual respect among religions and peoples.